What up, y'all? Y'all know what it is. We are back again. I'm your boy, Dean Thomas, and you are listening to Fight Court. I got my man, Ryan Quinn, on the ones and twos, and I'm going to jump right into this because I'm upset. I'm highly upset. I'm disappointed. More so than upset, I'm disappointed.
Tell them why you're mad.
I'm mad because people are so unreliable. They're so unreliable, man. Like, you know these dudes, and like when it comes time for, you know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, like Ryan, like when it comes, like back in the day when you was fighting and dudes needed training partners. Hey, Ryan, can you come in and train with me? And you sacrifice your body for months, for years to help dudes out. And then now when you ask them, hey, man, can you answer an email? Can you answer a text? Can you do an interview? And they don't answer the email. They don't answer the text. They don't answer the call. It bothers me. And you know what bothers me about it? Is it, depending on the circumstance, everything is conditional. Like, think about this. Think about all the dudes that don't want to fight, but as soon as the White House got announced, everybody was like, ooh, I want to fight. Everything is conditional. Like everything is conditional. and it really kind of pisses me off because, like, lame excuses just piss me off. Like, if your excuse is, if like the reason you don't want to do something is like, dude, I don't want to do it. Fine. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. But don't act like things are conditional and make up like lame excuses or just like ignore it because you feel like it's whatever. Because there was a time when a motherfucker was helping your ass out. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? A motherfucker was helping your ass out. But now when you ask for some shit, now it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Now they want to go off and hide off and ride off into the sunset, hide in, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm busy. Busy? Man, what the hell are you doing? You in surgery? You a doctor? You in surgery? You on call? I don't know, man. Ryan, I'm tripping.
No, you're not. You're not. I remember specifically, first of all, when you said that, 4 fighters went through my head in a matter of 10 seconds where I was like, yep. And I remember one time I was helping one fighter, and I was like going in, and basically I had a fight coming up but a little bit further out, and they needed to go over certain drilling aspects, and they asked me to come in. I was doing an extra session. I was doing a 3rd session a day. And I remember I come home and Mo's like, why are you doing that? And I was like, well, they need help, whatever. And he goes, man, you need to learn how to be selfish. He goes, this is a selfish sport. You got to learn to take care of yourself. You know, they're not going to be drilling with you in the fight. You know, I was like, nah, they're good. They're good for it to be good. And what do you know? I needed that person and they weren't there. But whatever, you know, I'm learning now.
It's not even, and I mean, that's one thing. I get that, right? Mm-hmm. I almost kind of get that, like when it's in the situation where I helped you out, but because it's taxing on your body. And I feel bad for you, Ryan, because I remember you back in the gym, man. You was that dude because like you was one of the first dudes in the gym that had like good wrestling base. So a lot of people would use you. This was before like the influx of like all the Russian guys or whoever. Yeah. And so a lot of people would use you because you could wrestle. And I remember distinct, like no one would come back and get you. Yeah. But remove a few years. Let's go a few years later. All you asking for is to answer an email. Answer your text.
Yeah.
Return my call. You know what I'm saying?
I play the numbers game now, so I figure instead of asking the one person, now I'll ask like 5, and if I get 2 responses back, like I told you, like I'm working on
the numbers game.
I'm working on that report I told you about, which I'm sure we could talk about a little. I'm having a lot of fun with that. But yeah, and I'm just learning just not to have expectations with people. Just just it is what it is, and like you and like you're reliable. And that's all I need. That's it. And that's all good. I'm upset about a couple things too. But first of all, what I'm not upset about, you see, I'm sporting my Buc-ee's T-shirt. You ever been to Buc-ee's?
I've been to you know what? Buc-ee's is a problem for me. It's such a good place, but it's so time consuming. Like if you're going to go to Buc-ee's, it's so like I won't go there for gas. Like if I go to Buc-ee's, it's like, all right, got to take an hour out of the trip. Yeah. And you got to put an hour into the trip because you're going to Buc-ee's because you can't just go for gas.
So we tried that on the way we drove back from St. Louis. And we need gas. Oh, Buc-ee's, And then my wife took my son into the bathroom while I stayed out and walked the dogs. And she calls me while she's in there. She goes, you're going to get lost in here. And lo and behold, I did. I went clothes shopping, got a picture with the Buc-ee mascot. and an hour and 10 minutes later, like you said, although I'm really mad because I wasn't hungry and I saw them pull out that brisket and pulled pork in there. I'm like, oh, I can't even try it. I'm not, and I didn't want to wait on that line either. But that's not why I'm mad. I'm mad because, so, I was grappling on my lunch break today. I went and did an open mat, and they took a picture. Somebody snapped a picture, and they took the most unflattering picture. I'm even going to pull it up. Would you look at that bald spot? Would you?
Oh no! Oh
Yeah,
no!
yeah. Yeah, I said you couldn't just ankle lock me, or like, you had to take that picture. Like,
They challenged your manhood with that one, player.
oh shit! Now he's texting me. My bad. But I'm like, oh shit! Like, I gotta get that Rogaine or whatever. I gotta either that or I don't think I'm ready to shave it. So maybe
I did not know that you were having a thinning issue
Well, neither did I until
until you saw that picture.
No, I knew that I was thinning. I didn't know. The thing is, when I start sweating, it's like that's when it really comes out. But whatever, I got it going on the front. I'll just brush it back. It's all good.
You gonna comb it over?
Yeah,
Comb it backwards.
I remember I used to go to a barber. And he had a blowout. And then like 3 years, I saw he was kind of thinning, and I remember he couldn't let it go. I remember 3 years later, he had the horseshoe, but he was still doing the blowout on the sides. It was like, this was like 15 years ago when blowouts were in, and
He had the horseshoe and a blowout.
Yeah, he couldn't let it go. He had the horseshoe. It was completely balled up here, but he was fraying out the sides, blowing it out on the sides. But all right. Well, I'm glad we got all.
Somebody need to check him.
Yeah. I'm glad we got all that stuff off our chest. It is what it is. We have good friends that come on here all the time and stuff. Like Mo comes on here all the time. Mo's doing his own thing with some social media influencing right now. He's doing some breakdowns that are looking really good. Check out the King's Corner on YouTube and his.
I love that, man. I love he's stepping up, stepping out of his comfort zone. I spoke to him today. In fact, we were talking about that too. He was actually talking about a young lady that he's working with who actually was a perfect example of what we were talking about in terms of them using this young lady a lot. And then he was like, I'm gonna help you out because like it's not fair.
Yeah.
And so I mean he's such a good dude for that. Like not only does he recognize it, but he does stuff about it when he sees it. Because it's easy to recognize it and just turn the other cheek and be like, you know what, I can't make no money off her. Yeah. But the fact that he's like, I see this and I'm gonna do something about it. That's a really good dude who cares. I mean, and it says a lot about his character. But but what's going on, man? What fights did we miss? What fights did we not talk about?
Well, talk about how it went with Beneil Dariush.
So I'm still trying to see if I can't retrieve some of that interview. But the interview was, it wasn't, and the reason why, to be honest, Ryan, I'm going to be completely honest with you. The reason why I didn't go full bore on retrieving this interview that I lost somehow, because it wasn't the greatest interview, really. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't.
I got you.
It wasn't anything. It wasn't anything newsworthy and catchy.
Yeah, I got you.
I mean, and that's not, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what we're about, but at the same time, I wasn't gonna go ahead and go scorched earth and burn the bridges to get an interview that just was like, all right, he said the very typical stuff that he probably says in every interview. So
yeah. Well, I was happy he was here nonetheless. Beneil's a good dude. Yeah. I'm happy for him with his win.
Yeah, for sure, and I do appreciate him coming on, and I'm sure he don't really give a damn if that interview gets posted or not either. So, I will try to find some of the audio of that and be clever with some pictures to get it up. But if there are some good parts, I'll go back and listen to it. But yeah, it was a good win for him.
Before we get into the fights, which there is stuff I want to break down, I can't wait to talk about Ilia Topuria, even though it's a week removed. There's a lot to discuss there. You brought up the White House, the White House fight. We'll see what happens with that. First of all, I think that it should be all politicians on that card, as I posted, not fighters. I think that
main event: Trump versus Elon Musk, baby.
Oh, they'd have to have Trump versus Obama. You have Trump versus Obama. I had Elon versus Mark, Facebook,
Zuckerberg.
Yeah. But dude, how much better would this place be if those politicians actually threw down and like the fire department fights the police department, like something like that? Because,
hell yeah.
Because, dude, I think about after you've been in a hard fight. How many after a fight, I know after I've had a hard fight, that's when I felt the most honest, the most open, and just how many times do you hear after a fight, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, the opponent, whether there was issue or not, they come to each other and they say, "Oh, we're gonna train together. I can't wait. You did this. It's great." But
almost every time.
Imagine politicians were like that. Fuck, this world would be.
That honestly, that's the truth, man. If everybody, and that's why I'm getting back. I'm trying to train with you tomorrow, but that's why I'm trying to get back to a little bit more being physical, because you just become honest in life, more honest with yourself when you get down on the mat, because there's a sense of humility of what you're capable of and what you're not capable of, and you learn what your limitations are, and you know what they are, and you get exposed to them in front of other people. And if politicians did that, if more people did that, I think police officers need to do that. I think politicians need to do that. CEOs need to do it. People in power need to do it, because then they would treat people differently. You wouldn't look down on people, because you would be like, man, if there was one bottle of water left in this office and there was just me and him, he'd take it from me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he would. So I'm not going to talk down on him, because he's not. I'm not better than him. And that's what happens, is that when people get in a position of authority and power, they feel better than you.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to train to realize that you're not better than everybody. It's crazy.
Yeah. And even if you are, you still have a day where you're not, and you're going to get shown. Like,
for sure.
Yeah,
and then
you respect the fact that you have a bad day, and you respect the other people's performance.
And that's just in training, but fighting is even more. I mean, there's been certain situations where guys just can never really settle the beef, and that's just like really, really, really bad. But that's actually very rare. I'd say 9 out of 10 times, more than 9 out of 10 times after a fight, two guys are at least like, man, like even Colby and Usman, right? Even Colby and Usman, even after the fight, Usman was like, respect, dog.
Yeah.
Respect.
That's why they need to fight. Instead of watching us fight, you politicians need this fight.
Politicians, y'all going to hold it down in the White House.
So,
it's going to be so fun.
So within 12 hours of that announcement by Trump, and it's going all over the place, Donn Davis cues in, "Oh, we could have a White House fight." And it made me think, like, I'm just waiting for it. I'm like, here he goes again. Ever since Kayla left, all he's trying to do is just stick his nose up the UFC's butt. Like, I'm just waiting for the day for the UFC or Dana White to send out some troll post on social media and just be like, "We're going to sniff some dirty butthole." And then Donn Davis, "We're going to sniff the dirtiest butthole." Like, just to get him to react, because, man, he needs to chill. He needs to chill, man. Like, I don't know. That was so cheesy that he said that. We could do it in the afternoon. And he's not going to, like, 4th of July afternoon, I'm not watching PFL. I'm watching Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Now, the problem is I don't think people understand. I don't think they fully understand what they're doing when they try to cherry pick off of other people's accomplishments.
Yeah.
You know who understands when that happens? Is the people whose accomplishments that they're getting cherry picked. And I think about this, and I talk about this all the time when, like, the UFC has built up such a platform and such a name over the last 30 years by spending hundreds of millions of dollars, by putting their balls on the line, by working endless hours and all this stuff to get to the spot where they're at. Like, it's not just luck. It's not. I mean, it's not just luck, because 30 years of just constant work, constantly failing, constantly readjusting, constantly making things happen. 30 years of this, of doing this and spending millions of dollars so that a guy like Donn Davis can come along and be like, "Hey, we have a fight organization too. We should be on there too." It's like, it's
no, I know what you're
very
saying.
unfair. Like, I don't even know if he realizes how unfair that sounds.
I think he's just grasping right now. He's just doing everything he can to stay relevant. And, like, PFL 3 years ago was awesome. I loved PFL, and they were just doing their own thing, and they weren't really trying to do the head-to-head stuff. I wish they would get back to that. But, I heard something the other day. It was the formula for, or the equation for luck is hard work meets opportunity. And that's the equation for luck. I always thought of that when you said
Well,
that.
Yeah, for sure. that's definitely, well, some would say preparation and opportunity.
Yeah, it's preparation, hard work.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
so, but the reality, and so I'm always careful with that in terms of like my buddies, because if I'm hanging out like, and not the name drop, but like if I'm hanging out with Joe Rogan, like I'm not asking Joe Rogan to give me a hookup for something. You know what I'm saying? Because I understand how hard Joe worked to get where he's at. 30 years of comedy, grinding it out. Just dogging it out for years before he finally got to where he is and the platform that he has. And here I am like, hey, man, I'm selling T-shirts.
Well, you know why you're tight with him is because you never took advantage of that. I'm sure he
and that exactly. And I think, and it took a long time to build that type of trust with these guys too, man. It takes a while to build the type of trust with these guys where they're like, because, every once in a while I'll step in the scene and they'll look at me sideways like, okay, today is the day. Today's the day he's going to ask me for $100,000 to open up a barbershop.
Yep.
And that day don't come. You know what I'm saying? That day will never come. So like now, I built trust with like him and Dana and them. So like I don't ask them for shit. So like they don't have to worry about it because I'm not going to cherry pick off of their success.
So you bring up Joe Rogan.
Go ahead.
And it makes me think about, dude, there was this guy. First of all, Joe Rogan, everyone just follows him for the same aspect on social media because he's the clickbait. He's the ultimate clickbait. There was this one guy, and it sucks because he comes up on my algorithm now. I don't even remember his name. But whenever Joe Rogan says something, what Joe Rogan said or what Joe Rogan means, and then none of it's Joe Rogan. It's just this guy recapping what Joe Rogan said, and he's made a whole YouTube channel off of it. It's that's the world we live in, I guess.
But that's it. That's how you cherry pick off of other people's success. It's wild to me, man. And people have been getting on my case. So I did DC show the other day, and people were like, "Oh man, where is he at? His camera sucks and all this and that and the third." And then I had a friend today who was like, "Oh man, you got to get a new camera." And I'm always like, "Dude, listen, I don't give a fuck about being famous. I'm not doing shit like I don't care about being famous. Like I do this shit for like if the homies want to hear some shit. Like if you find value to what I'm saying, tune in.
Yeah.
If my camera offends you because it's fucking not the highest quality or my backdrop's not the highest quality, don't tune in. I'm fine anyway. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be good anyway. So
or just listen to what you're saying. Just listen to what you're saying. Don't even worry about it. Like, that's what we're here for anyway. For you to listen to us. All right. So back to what we were saying. The fights. UFC. What was it? 316. 317. Sorry.
317. Yeah.
Ilia Topuria. So let's start right at the top. And I know you do studies on fighters. Have you done a study on him yet?
Pretty much. I haven't done an official one, but I've studied. I did some like short clips.
Okay. Okay. That's kind of what I did. So, yeah. All right. Then I'll start with what I'm saying, and you could either fill in the gaps or correct. But I'm starting to notice that there is such a level of deception in his game that we haven't seen in a fighter before. And what I'm saying is, like, when you look at his stance, his head's offline, but it almost looks like he's leaning forward a little bit. Now, he's shorter. He's going to have that peekaboo style, so sometimes it looks like that. But you'll see these fighters, they automatically see that leg forward, and they're trying to kickbox immediately, and then they're opening themselves up. Sometimes they land that kick, sometimes they don't. I look at the last fight with Charles. He landed a couple kicks early on. But then when they're doing that, they're opening himself up for him to take his head offline, and he's landing bombs. And I think that adds to a lot of it. Plus, he has such great angles with his punches that is adding to his power. It is so much fun to watch. He did it against, what's his name? Volk. He did it against Volk. Man, this run is awesome. He's going Max. He did it against Max. And I just love the way that he sets things up. Again, with this, like, he was throwing straight punches, and he gets Charles to do that Thai boxing defense. And then as soon as he sees that, he's coming around those with the looping hooks on the right and left side. It's really awesome to watch. Anyway, what do you think about that?
No, I think he's an amazing fighter. I think he's got amazing punching technique, like just really clean angles, really good balance, which is why he's knocking guys out. I don't think he's like any stronger or like what people think. I think he's just really disciplined about throwing punches the right way every single time, which is what not a lot of fighters do, which separates him from everybody else. And I also think too is that what makes some fighters really good can also hurt you in times, in situations like fighting a guy like Ilia Topuria. The things that make Charles Oliveira good, like his confidence in himself, his belief in himself, like going into fights thinking that you're unbeatable. You should. Like, you're supposed to go into fights with a level of confidence that nothing can happen to you and that you're just, you're going to go out there and do your thing and you'll take a couple shots, you'll get hit a few, and it'll be. But when you're dealing with a guy like Ilia Topuria, who's like the power company, who has the ability to shut your lights off, like, you can't take no chances. And I've been like studying a lot of boxing recently too, and the one thing that good boxers are really good at is navigating through fights and navigating through rounds of fights. And this is something that MMA guys have not figured out yet fully. They just go out and just fight and then just go, I'm gonna fight with my heart and hope I don't get tired. But boxers have really figured out how to, and I just recently watched Bivol and Butter Beef, both of them, and they've really figured out how to be like, all right, I'm gonna take the first round and jab, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And see how it reacts to that. And I'm going to take the second round and do this. And I'm going to take, and they build up into what it is that they want to fight. And MMA fighters, even at the highest level, have not figured that out yet. And I think that because like there's a little bit more pressure to be entertaining in MMA, so they want to get to that faster. But there's a way to still do it. There's a way to still be safe and entertaining and still be fighting a good fight. And I think that MMA fighters haven't fully figured that out yet.
Do you think that might be because, I know it's 3 rounds, but the boxing, they still have 10 to 12 rounds to navigate, where MMA, you only have 3 to 5 rounds? Do you think
that's a very good point, but there's also more things that you can do in terms of wrestling and shooting. And so like you can do more still. So you can still navigate through those different areas and still be a little safer than getting into these like shootouts with a guy like Ilia Topuria, who's a known knockout art. Like, he's a known one-punch guy. Like, you shouldn't be in that position that early in a fight. You just should not be in that position that early in a fight to give him an opportunity to knock you out. Like, you need to be all the way out throwing high kicks, or you need to be all the way in on a shot. And he just found himself in a really bad spot, probably based on the idea that I'm Charles Oliveira and I'm tough enough to take it.
Right. Yeah, and I've been here. I'm bigger.
I'm bigger. He's coming up in weight, and we know, Ryan, the MMA game is so unforgiving.
Yes. It's the hardest season ever. Your career is the hardest season ever.
It's the hardest season ever, man, because you get one Super Bowl a year.
Preach. Actually,
you get one Super Bowl a year, and if they score on a kickoff, it's over.
Yep. This kind of goes into the report so I'm doing this report on. I'm switching. Actually, I just had a good conversation with Dr. Tim Baghurst today on it, and had a lot of fun stuff. Friend of the show. Check out FSU Coach on YouTube. So, I had a conversation with a friend of ours, Daniel Jolly, who he fought MMA, fought in the UFC, played football at Colorado State. And one of the things we talked about, he goes, preparation and breakdown for coaches to fighters. And he goes, you see, it's very easy to camouflage a team sport athlete's deficiencies. Like, if you have a badass linebacker who's really good at just blitzing, and you want him in there just to wreak havoc. Let's say you have a package on the field that you're going in pass defense, and this guy just can't drop back. You can either have him cover up close, or you could take him out for that down altogether. You can't do that in MMA. You can't switch out your right hand for power punches because you need a power punch right now. You have to either develop it or set up whatever it is you're looking for that's going to land the biggest impact. Another conversation I had with a baseball coach was, he goes, you see all the time. You see these power hitters, they're in the whole game, and then when you need a defensive replacement because they suck in the infield, and they take them out to put in somebody that's better defensively and put them in the outfield.
Well, you know what that is? That's part of that has a lot to do with the mentality of MMA and the trends and just generational pass downs of poor coaching through the years. And Tim Baghurst talked about that too, in terms of like just because we're doing it this way because my coach did it that way, and his coach did it that way before him. So now this is the way to do it. And I think about that all the time. I was working on some bottom guard stuff with Alberto Montez. I be getting my Puerto Rican dude's name. He's probably Spanish. I be getting my Spanish dude's names all mixed up. Alberto Montez and Dennis Bazooka. I was working on some bottom game stuff, and I almost had the need to preface the stuff with an apology. With an apology of, well, you know, you don't really want to play from guard, but if you do happen to end up there, then this is some stuff. No, like it all should be equal. Like it all should if you have a deficiency somewhere, you need to work. Like it should be equal. I shouldn't have to preface moves with an apology because the general mentality and standard of MMA is don't get taken down.
Yep. You might still get taken down.
Still might get taken down, and then you're going to want to still be effective from there and still have stuff to do. Mm-hmm. And to learn it, you shouldn't feel bad about it, as if like you're doing some quote unquote pussy shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you should feel like I'm getting more weapons from different areas. It's almost like working on punt return stuff, like or kickoff stuff. Like this is just an aspect of the game that we need to be good at, like any other aspect of the game.
So I was on both sides of that. Luckily, I had enough humility to be on both sides of that. Some people only stay on one side of it. I remember I was coming up in my career. I was doing really well. And I've talked about this before, probably on here, and I remember I had the biggest win of my career, and then I went against a guy who, Abner Lavares, boxed in the Olympics for Spain. Serious hands, especially if I make it. My hands, my wrestling and grappling was so far ahead of my boxing and my strength that it's not even funny. And I got beat the fuck up. I broke every bone in my face. I got a plate, and it was the worst loss I've ever taken. Then I went back and I worked my hands because I was forced to. It was either that or retire because the blueprint was out on how to beat me at that point, And not only did my hands get better, it made my wrestling better because now people are worried about my hands. So your new aspects, your new wrinkles, your new weapons could make your primary weapons better. It's the way the game is.
I've always thought that if Alex Bajeda had the solid ground game, no one would take him down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They would be forced to stand with him. I think what it is, and I said this when I spoke to Edmund Shabazian after his win against Andre Petrosky, which was a flawless victory over a wrestler. Like Edmund Petrosyan, he managed distance well. He was throwing kicks and using a jab and stuffing shots. And I was like, and I told him, I said, you did what everybody thinks that they can do against a wrestler. Like, that's the performance that everybody strives to have. But as we evolve into this MMA game, it's actually pretty rare to see it that way. Like, That was actually a very, we used to see it a long time ago, when Thiago Alves beat Matt Hughes, he did it flawlessly like that. Stuff the shot, beat him up, stuff the shot, beat him up. But you don't really see it that often anymore, where it's that clean, like Edmund Shabazian and Andre Petrosky, because the footwork of most wrestlers is better now.
Yes.
And the reason why Edmund was able to do it to Andre was a footwork issue. It wasn't really a wrestling issue. Andre didn't have the footwork to get in. But the idea that that's the way we can still do it is flawed in my opinion. And that's an antiquated idea because it almost never looks like that anymore, where it's like stuffing shots and just beating them up and they're taking bad shots. It doesn't look like that no more.
No, but you brought up a point where the wrestlers are getting better. I know with me, I was never going to be fleet-footed, so I had to figure out how to cut off the cage. So I used a lot of, I was jab heavy, feint heavy. I had a pretty good feint, and I would use my lateral footwork to cut them off. It's just I had to slow the fight down, and that's how I was going to do it. But either way, all right, we kind of went off there. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, speaking of wrestlers and footwork, I also watched Eblin and Fabian Edwards, Johnny Eblin and Fabian Edwards 2. And despite Johnny winning that fight, I was like, yo, he lost his footwork. What happened?
Huh. I don't remember the fight. It was recently too. I got to go back and
It
watch.
was like because I went back and watched some of his older stuff and like, man, he was moving like he had good feet. And then I just watched that fight. I was like, he lost his footwork. He still won the fight, but he lost his footwork. I'm like, yo, why? What happened to his footwork?
Was he too?
I didn't know if he had, like, have you spoken to him? Like, ask, like,
No.
if you ever speak to him, find out if he lost his footwork and if he needs help, if he can, we can put a search party together to help find it. Because I think that like his footwork was like getting good and it was really opening up opportunities for him in fights.
Was he getting a little carried away with longer combinations, maybe, or I don't know. Was he focused
No,
on
I think maybe it was because like Fabian the whole time was backing up and backing up and backing up. But I think that, but in the fifth round when Fabian stopped backing up, he was touching Johnny up and Johnny wasn't responding well.
I got to go back and watch the fight.
Yeah, go back and watch the fight. You'll say, yo, he's not moving his feet like he used to. So it was a little weird to me.
So what else?
You
happened?
watching the fights this week?
Oh yeah, I'm watching the fights this week.
Nashville, baby. Derek
I just drove
Lewis.
through. I just drove through Nashville. It's a nice little city.
Oh, Nashville's great if you're a 25-year-old white girl.
Or maybe not great when you're in town, huh?
You know what's funny about that, man, is that until like I don't see like this is weird. This is a weird realization that I do have of myself though. But like when I'm in situations like that, I'm in Nashville and there's like 25-year-old white girls all hanging around, like, and I just see them. I'm like, oh, they're my contemporaries. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like them. And then I like see a picture of myself with them, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like Morgan Freeman. I'm like, I'm nothing like that.
Oh man, dude. So we stopped for lunch in there, and like you said, like it was just like I remember Amanda goes to me, she goes, "Is there something going on here this week?" Because it was just a Saturday, and people were out doing shit. Like there was some kind of event there, and they were all younger, like you said, and it was pretty interesting. But,
And you feel like you with them too, but go back, but look at a picture of you and them, and you'll look at pictures, and you'll be like, "Holy shit, I'm out there looking like goddamn Harrison Ford."
I got to keep a hat on now, though. Obviously,
and they looking at you like, "Excuse me, sir."
Yeah. Oh, I hate getting the sirs. I hate getting the sirs.
Yeah, like damn.
All right, but no, that fight, yeah, like man, I'm always gonna root for Derek, and honestly, this isn't a fight that he could like. Teixeira is good. I mean, he's on the up. He showed some holes, I felt, but I feel like Derek always has that knockout power chance, but he's just looked worse and worse in his fights lately. Like just
Well, he's getting a lot of money, and he don't care. I mean,
Yeah.
but that actually might help him a little bit. I think. It makes him inconsistent and unreliable, but if it works, it's gonna work and good. And if it doesn't work, it's gonna be really bad. Like it's one way or the other.
Yep.
But I think that in the way that because he's probably doesn't care as much because he's a millionaire, that he can just fight a little freer and hopefully get a big knockout. Or if things get a little hot for him, he'll just quit.
Yeah.
I'm rich.
Maybe the cards on basic. Maybe it's better he does lose so he keeps his clothes on and he doesn't.
I know.
Maybe it's better he does lose. UFC's
I
trying
get
to
nervous.
negotiate this deal.
Yeah, I get nervous sometimes with these dudes, man, because you know me, man. I'm a little wild, but I always have like this sensor of like, all right,
Yeah.
there's the line. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm used to that from doing terrestrial radio for like 8 years. That can't curse, can't I know what my line is, and I know where my line is. And these dudes, man, like I get nervous for them, like Derek Lewis and Cutman Tate and these guys. I'm like, yo, because I don't think they realize that there's eventually a line where somebody's gonna be like, you went too far with that one.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to just after a fight, you're just as honest as you can be, and this is just you. You're just like, you know what? Shorts coming off, boom.
I know.
But what else? I saw Calvin Kattar's on the fight.
Tough fight for him too, Steve Garcia.
Yeah, very tough fight. I like Calvin. That's going to be a telling fight as to where he's going with his career, I think. It's a pretty good fight card. Nate Landwehr's on the card I saw.
Yeah, Nate Landwehr and Morgan Charrier. That's a great fight, man. That's gonna be bananas, especially, and that's like Nate's home state, so that's going to be a bananas fight.
I didn't even see what's on the prelims. I didn't even see. Oh, Chris Curtis is back at 170. That's right.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. That's it. Oh, he had some issues with a corner. Him and Sean Strickland had some issues.
Yeah. So like, did you see the video of that?
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, like the dude like choked out his boy and starts bad mouthing Sean and Chris, and then Sean jumps in there and throws a punch at this guy, and it's a bit disappointing in my eyes for Sean Strickland to be acting this way.
It was unnecessary. Yeah, it was definitely unnecessary.
Well, not only that, and I said this, it'll come out before this comes out, but for a guy like Sean Strickland, who, when you hear other pros talk about him in the gym, great teammate, cares about the team, always helps everybody, really good everywhere, good wrestling, good grappling, good striking, very difficult to deal with. And so in a sense, he's kind of a role model and a team leader. So that's one aspect. Like, as a team leader, you got to take the high ground sometimes and be like, all right, you know what? Don't be disrespectful, man. Congratulations, you beat one of our guys. Will you beat one of our guys? Congratulations. Let's see how your career goes for you. You know what I'm saying? Right. Our guy's gonna bounce back from this. He gonna make it to the UFC. Let's see what you do in your career. That's how you handle stuff like that. Also, too, it's just a displacement of energy. Because if you get Sean Strickland, who's beating up YouTube, and we've seen it not just once, but multiple times, Sean Strickland teeing off on YouTubers, teeing off on these guys. Yeah. But then when you see him in title fights, he's not doing that. Like, his energy is reserved and cautious. And I'm just thinking, if he only knew, to me, I feel like it's a form of self-sabotage, because if he only knew in 10 years from now, looking back when it's over, going, damn, I could have beat Dricus. I could have beat him, like, decisively, had I just took the energy that I had against Sneeko and put it towards Dricus, where it really mattered. But his energy is displaced.
I had a conversation with someone at work about this who's very good at what he does. And he, I work in sales. And he kind of just, he got really upset with the team about something, the sales team. And he felt a little remorseful towards the end. And I said, hey, man, listen, you get to a 10, and with the point you're looking to make, you only need to get to a 6. You don't have to get that high to get your point across. And you could save that energy for something else. This is the same thing with Sean. Like, he didn't have to. First of all, a liver shot changes everyone's mind. Liver shot will get the point across. That's all you need to do. You don't got to tee off on a YouTuber. Like, you get that 6, and then you could put the energy elsewhere. But anyway, back to Chris Curtis. Who's he fighting? Max Griffin. That's going to be interesting.
Oh, no kidding. He's fighting Max Griffin.
It's the last card on the prelims.
The prelim main event?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Chris is always fun to watch.
I'm okay with that. Chris Curtis, for a guy who's extremely one-dimensional, he knows how to turn fights into being pretty exciting.
He's someone who knows how to manage a fight. I mean,
he knows how to manage a fight really well.
Yeah, boxing background. He's got a boxing background.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I think if he took that mentality of his management of a fight and had more weapons, was more confident in using more weapons, he'd be a better fighter.
I agree.
If he was as confident in his ability to take shots as he was in his jab, he'd be better, because he'd have more weapons and more things to do and more ways to be working towards his goal in a fight, as opposed to just being that one-track minded. But he's got a really good sense of fight management.
Yep. Absolutely. I always saw, like, I actually called one of his fights, did color commentary when he fought in Canada. It was actually a great fight. I forgot the name of the guy he fought, but it was for a title up there. And it was a 5-round fight, so it gave him more time to manage. He kind of threw away the first round. And actually, we've seen a lot in his career. He kind of throws away the first round, like, notoriously. And then he comes out, like, whether he's trying to gauge somebody. And I think that kind of, people pick that up about him. They kind of made sure they won the first round in fights, and then where he was calculative. He gets a little more urgent in his later rounds. Still effective. I wonder if dropping down in weight is gonna help him. But yeah, I think if he opens up a little bit more in the first round than in past, he's going to be a lot more effective. He's going to get his opponents a little bit more urgent, and it's going to make more openings for him to get what he wants. And I agree with you. If he was able to work on a little bit more defensive wrestling, and it's not like he's on the ground. It's not like he's getting submitted either. He's defending, but he's still getting taken down and clock chewed.
Well, not only so, and not even just defensive. I just more in his game for everything. And I think that was the biggest problem. Like for him, like these guys don't like to see it the way I see it. Like they look at it and goes, "Oh, I'm just too small for the weight division." And I always tell them that it's not you're too small. You're just not good enough. So for instance, like he doesn't have the footwork. Like he doesn't use his footwork enough to fight bigger guys. Right. Like if you're going to fight bigger guys, you need to attack from angles. You can't just walk into them.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. Yeah. Like his fighting style is not good enough to fight bigger guys at the highest level because he doesn't use enough angles and footwork, and he doesn't wrestle enough and all that. He just doesn't use enough of his tools. So, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's just, you have a choice to make. You either go down and fight smaller guys and you can walk into, or you work on your footwork.
You're saying in a sense there's more to you than you're giving yourself credit for. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
There's a higher ceiling.
I don't think he gives himself enough credit.
Yep, absolutely. So, what else? What else is going on?
You tell me, man. Anything on your mind?
What do you? No, that's really it, man. Just working on this. I'm pumped that you're here now. You're fully FightCourt. That's fantastic. And
yeah, man. No more Sirius XM, so I'm getting all my. I'm spewing all my verbal diarrhea on all our FightCourt fans.
That's great. Yeah, I want to start doing some fight breakdowns again, like how I would see what I would do for both fighters and stuff. I'm going to start posting stuff like that whenever they haven't really. Well, they announced some fights last week, but I was traveling. I know Tuesdays when they do the matchmaking meeting and when they make the announcement Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe I'll do stuff on like Wednesday, Thursday, something like that.
Well, here's what I'll do. And I want to make sure I clip this. Is it? I want to ask the fans. What the fans want more of from us? Like, what do you want more of? Do you want more fight breakdowns? You want more analysis? You want us to talk shit more? Like, what do you want more? Because I'll do, So leave it in the chat. Do you want us to do more fight breakdowns? More stories, old school stories? You let us know. So tell us what you know, because I was thinking about this shit today, man. The UFC, Zuffa bought the UFC in 2000. They started throwing shows, I think, end of 2000, beginning of 2001. I got signed to the UFC in the first half of 2001. At that time, the people involved in the UFC that are still there today, Dana White, Donna Markelli, and me. That's it. I've been around the game. So if you want stories or old school shit, chop it up, breakdowns, you let me know.
Please do. So, I know I'm going to think of some. For sure.
Yeah.
I know.
And I mean, there's probably some others that's been around too, but I can't think of them any offhand. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I know the Fertittas ain't around. Those are some of the homies. But yeah, let me know.
I read a really good book. I highly recommend. Who wrote it? I think his name was Mike Thompson. I forget. The name of the book is Cage Kings, but it talks about the embryonic stages of the UFC to what it became today, and it talks about everything. It's not biased whatsoever. It gets everyone's point of view. Obviously, Dana's made some friends, made some not so friends over the last few years, and it talks about all that, and it's great. I love to talk about the acquisition of pride. It talks about. It's a great book. It's a pretty easy read. It's like 300 pages. Yeah, definitely check that out for those of you looking. I don't think it's on audio. I think you got to buy the book. Actually, I linked that book out. They need to give it
since
back.
We're doing book recommendations, I didn't read it. I listened to it. I always kind of go back and forth between reading and listening to books. It just kind of keeps my ADHD in check. But so my book recommendation in terms of listening was from Mel Robbins called Let Them. So if you want to hear a good book, very good for self-help and just dealing with life in general, extremely good book from Mel Robbins. It's called Let Them. So listen to that. It's amazing.
That sounds good. I'm listening to a book right now. Actually, you might find it interesting. It's called Console Wars, but it's about the marketing war between Nintendo and Sega in the late 80s, early 90s.
Are you shitting me?
Oh yeah, it's a good fucking book. It's really good. I'll give one little just the stuff that they went back and forth with was so crazy. Like
Console Wars,
and they talked about how the guy they brought in to bring Sega over the hump worked for Mattel, and he was most notable for before that was there was a children's vitamin that the kids wouldn't take. It had all the nutrients, but it looked too much like medicine, so kids wouldn't take it. So he's like, we need to get the rights to a major cartoon, and we need to make the vitamins look like the cartoon. Lo and behold, Flintstone vitamins was born. And it's,
no kidding.
Yeah, it's a lot of cool little shit like that in the book.
That is pretty cool, actually. That's actually. I'm not opposed to it. It just sounds funny.
You know, it is. It's totally
But I'm not opposed to reading that. That's how you really dig into other aspects of life and spark your creativity. So I'll check that out, Console Wars. But Ryan, all love, my brother. Let's chop it up again next week. In fact, we're going to be putting out more content throughout. But if you want to see something, you let us know.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will see you next week. And on that note, this court is adjourned.